Welcome back to Area DMG. I'm your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and today we're going to have a little bell handy because we're going to go ahead and review another book and rant a bit about it. This one is one that was quite an interesting read. I got through it pretty quickly, and it is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up, a counterintuitive approach to living a good life by Mark Manson, who is just a blogger, I think. The guy here is just a blogger of some sort. He has over 2 million readers, woo, and he lives in New York City. Good for him. Anyways, he wrote a book, and it's pretty much the basic idea is, for decades we've been told that positive thinking is the key to a happy, rich life. But those days are over. Positivity, Mark Manson says, let's be honest, some things are up and we have to live with it. For the past few years, Manson, via his wildly popular blog, has been working on correcting our delusional expectations for ourselves and for the world. And this is actually kind of a pop psychology book. It has some curse words in it, because that's kind of what it's about. It's kind of in your face. It's not about narcissism or whatnot, which some people have accused it of being. No, this is about learning to be happy in your situations, I guess is the best way. It's not really so much about learning to not give up, but learning about what to give up about. That bell is going to get really annoying, so whatever. I don't really curse on this channel, but I'm covering a book where I curse, or where there's a curse word in it. Like, you've got some chapters, don't try. The feedback loop from heck. The subtle art of not giving a fudge. So Mark, what the fudge is the point of this book anyways? In chapter 2, happiness is a problem. The misadventures of disappointment panda. Happiness comes from solving problems. Emotions are overrated, choose your struggle. Then chapter 3, you are not special. Kind of like, you are not a unique and beautiful snowflake. This guy here seems to have thought Fight Club was a pretty good book. Well, it is. It's pretty funny. Anyways, things fall apart. The tyranny of exceptionalism. But if I'm not going to be special or extraordinary, well, what's the point? The point is that you're there for Ricks. Whatever. Chapter 4, the value of suffering. With self-awareness, onion. Rockstar problems. Crappy values. Defending good and bad values. Chapter 5, you are always choosing the choice. The responsibility fault fallacy. Responding to tragedy. Genetics and the hand we're dealt. Victimhood chick. There is no how. Chapter 6. You're wrong about everything. But so am I. Architects of our own beliefs. Be careful what you believe. The dangers of pure certainty. Manson's law of avoidance. Kill yourself. How to be a little less certain of yourself. Chapter 7. Failure is a way forward. The failure success paradox. Pain is part of the process. The do something principle. Chapter 8, the importance of saying no. Rejection makes your life better. Boundaries, how to build trust. Freedom through commitment. Chapter 9, and then you die. Something beyond ourselves, the sunny side of death, and then acknowledgments. Pretty much, the best way to do the way to put this into effect is that he wrote a book citing interesting examples of different people and that he's known, personal things and such, and personal experiences, to build together a philosophy where the basic idea of this is that you kind of have to choose what you deal with, or what you live with and what you deal with. I think the best way to put this actually is there's a saying, I'm not sure who wrote it, but I really like it. It's called, the best part of our home is who we choose to spend it. The best part of our house is who we choose to let into it. And the basic idea of this is that you can't change the world, you can't fix everything, and sometimes you don't need to. You need to pick and choose the things that you really actually care about. And it's important to base what you choose and think and care about on the immediacy of what makes your life better. Also, a better life isn't necessarily happy. When people are like, I'm not happy. Well, good. Oh my gosh, you're not happy? Oh, really? Really? You're not happy? Guess what? No one's happy. We're all not happy. Life is terrible, but we can choose how we react to it. We can choose the things that make us better people. You know? And that's actually what this is about. It is about choosing your battles, choosing what you really need to do or care about. And it's important because it is a little self-centered in that regard, but we're narcissistic creatures, all of us. Well, not narcissistic personality disorder as a total, but we are narcissistic creatures in that we all have some of these defenses. And it's okay. We're okay. I like to push the idea of ambulatory living, and part of being ambulatory is knowing when to go forward. Because whenever you move forward, whenever you're moving, you're leaving something behind. And the basic idea of this book is how to choose what to leave behind. And a lot of what we keep with us is emotional baggage. We look at things through a rose-colored lens. You look at stuff, and I guess the best way to bring up that is I would go back and mention the human magnet syndrome, because I really think you should get that book. I really think you should get that book. But anyways, in the human magnet syndrome, it's about like identifying things that are bad for you. We're identifying that, you know, sometimes you're not really in love. You're in something called limerence, which they don't go into this. This is more of a pop culture psychology book. Like, for example, yeah, he goes, the real question is, what are we choosing to give about? What values are we choosing to base our actions on? What metrics are we choosing to use to measure our life? Are these good choices, good values, or good metrics? Yeah. And like, you find out like some of the stuff there, responding to tragedy, the dangers of pure certainty. Actually, yeah, the dangers of pure certainty. Golly, that's actually horribly scary. His talking about being stalked. Regular Sarah McLachlan in here. Yeah, Buddhism argues that the idea of who you are is an arbitrary mental construction and you should let go of the idea that you exist at all. Well, that's because a lot of Buddhism actually wants an ego death. You see, humanity is made up of three different things. Our psychology is made up of the id, the ego, and the superego. Now the id, the very basis of our id, is essentially our instinct, if I remember correctly. I may be misquoting this, but one of those is our horrible instinct. The other one is the things that keep us in check, and the third thing is the thing that keeps our check in check. Essentially, humanity is kind of built a little bit like our government, where you have the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. Now, the legislative branch is the one that makes the laws, the judicial branch is the one that backs those laws up, and the executive branch is the one that actually goes out there and enforces those. Like, puts together groups that enforce that. And that would be, of course, the President, the Congress, and the Supreme Court. Now, they're not all equal to each other, just as the id, which would be like the judicial section of that, or the Supreme Court, is kind of the lesser of these things, is the more instinctual. The legislative and the executive keep it in check. What Mark Manson is doing in this, though, in this book, which I thought was pretty good. I got through it really quickly, and I actually read through it. I listened to it through an audiobook, and then I went back and read it when I got back, and I was like, yup. Because I let some of my coworkers, one of my coworkers borrow this, so it smells a little bit like cigarette now, but it's okay. Like, I don't mind. It's like, I'd rather people read it too, you know what I mean? Actually, I think people should read this one. This is one of those ones that you sit down, it's a pretty good read. It's actually fairly coherent. It's written in a compelling kind of first person and second person and third person manner that works out pretty well. Like, we shouldn't seek the ultimate right answer for ourselves, but rather we should seek to chip away at the ways that we're wrong today so that we can be a little less wrong tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's like this famous Michael Jordan quote about him failing over and over and over again, and that's why he succeeded. Yep. Well, I'm always wrong about everything over and over and over again, and that's why my life improves. In other words, failure breeds success. You know, sometimes you gotta fail, but then you gotta realize, is this something that I care about enough to get back up again? And that's kind of where we need to find ourselves, you know? We have to find the things that we give a about? And then we need to follow those things. Is it a job? Is it is it YouTube? You know, sometimes I wonder about that. Is it something that we need to figure out the things that we do in fact give a about? I kind of feel like this book is pretty provocative in its presentation. I mean, the cover. Look at this cover. Beautiful, right? This is not so beautiful. I like the dust jacket though. HarperCollins. Yeah. I think that we've kind of lost stuff over the years. I mean, we have a little embossed stamp here and then this. But you look at this. This looks like something you'd see at a dollar store, you know? For $1. And it's kind of sad that way. I mean, we need to have a return to things that look like this. I mean, look at this. This is a compelling and interesting cover. I'm not going to tell you what's in that. 33. Anyways, let's get back to stuff like this book at hand. But yeah, this book, it's a good book. Yeah, like here's a little bit of this. The desire for a more positive experience is itself a negative experience. And paradoxically, the acceptance of one's negative experience is itself a positive experience. So yeah, sometimes bad things happen to us. And instead of seeing there's doing about it, it's a good idea to research it. Why did this happen? Why did this fail? How did I fail? How did other people fail? How does this all add up? And at the end of the day, do I still give a about it? And sometimes you got to choose the things that you do give a about. Like family or friends or family or friends. Those are really the only real things when you think about it. Sometimes you just gotta, if you do get like some jolt to your senses, it allows you to reorient yourself and realize, what have I been doing for so long? What have I been doing? And then to get yourself back up. And then sometimes you gotta look at it and realize, you know what? Maybe you were just giving too much of about certain things or certain people or whatnot. And it's okay to not care about that. I actually got through this audiobook, and around the time when I got through this audiobook, I was still like really I got through the book. I realized, you know what, I've been trying so hard to get, at the time I was unemployed, I was just like, you know what, I'm going to go into these things and not overthink, not overtry. In fact, like a lot of times I do tend to overthink. I rant too much. And that's actually something where therapy has kind of helped, and this book actually kind of helped point at that. It's like, hey, you know, you overthink things, and that's why you suffer from depersonalization. You overthink things, that's why you have the anxiety. You overthink things, that's why you were the way you were. And I realized that, well, I overthought things. And this book is about underthinking them, but not underthinking them to a point where you're just awful or just careless. In fact, it talks about setting your goals and limits. You need to decide what values you want to stick to, what values are important to you, and then just remove the other ones. Now, unlike a lot of self-help books, there's no real religious bit to this. It's not like Zen and the Art of the Motorcycle Repair, which is a great book and everyone should read it. It's more or less kind of a pop culture thing. Like, this is the book that you read if you want to be provocative on the subway, or you want to sit at your desk at work or whatnot, or on your lunch break, and this is a book you want people to see you reading. I mean, because it's so like, hey, look at this. Oh my goodness. This person's reading a book with a dirty word in the cover. And then you go, well, yeah, but it has a lot of good things to say. And the good things it has to say is that sometimes it's important for us to realize and reorient our priorities. What we're spending our time, our love, and our money on. What we need to reorient in ourselves. And that's why I liked it. I liked this book. If I were giving it a score, I'd probably give it like, let's see, if you're a person who has read a lot of philosophy books, this is a solid 7 out of 10. If you're a person who's like, ew, I'm not going to touch the Kabbalah. Ooh, what? The Prophet by Khalil Gibran? Nah, whatever, I'm not reading that. Oh, these books about psychology? Ugh. Or these books about philosophy? Ugh. If you're one of those people who's like, I'm not going to read The Art of the Deal, it's got Trump on the cover. Or, I'm not going to read that thing because Ray Kroc wrote it and I saw the movie The Founder and he was a jerk to people. Well, you know what? Yeah, but he's a successful jerk in that way. And it's actually okay to read through these books. They're not the most popular sometimes, and people don't like to think. And the best part about The Subtle Art of Not Giving a is that it doesn't demand its reader think too hard. There's a reason it's a New York Times bestseller. It subtly takes a little bit of nuances and says, hey, maybe just it's like a gentle nudge in one direction. And saying, hey, you know what? Maybe you've been standing still for too long, and the best way to move forward is to realize that you stop standing still. You start standing still for too long, you be stationary for too long, you start to put up roots. You start to have weights around your ankles, around your legs, around your waist, around your arms, and then you're just pulled down into this slough of despond, like your Pilgrim from Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, and then you're gone. And maybe you need to look and go, yes, I'm in this slough of despond, and I'm falling and sinking, but I don't want to sink. I don't really give a about sinking. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't give a about standing still. And then you move forward, which is why I would say if you haven't read a bunch of psychology or philosophy books, and you haven't been seriously thinking about what you want to do or who you are, then maybe give this a chance. I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10 for people who aren't the self-reflective type. The problem, though, with some of this is that some people will read this and look at it as like, well, I can be more self-centered. But that's not actually the point of the book. If you read through the book and you realize that, and if you read the book and you decide that the point of it is to be self-centered and selfish and narcissistic, then you read it wrong. The actual point is you need to pick and choose your battles. You need to pick and choose and redefine and think about your values and realize if you're really attached to them or not. And in a way, that's why it's a good book. It doesn't have the most friendly of covers. I mean, yeah, you can pick this up at like your local bookstore. Like, may I go ahead and recommend for the 1000th time that you go and check it out at like a local bookstore. I prefer tattered cover over Barnes and Noble or other things, but there's Black and Read. There was Goddess Books, or Isis Books is what they called it at one point, and then there's tattered cover, which if you're in Denver, go there. I don't have a sponsorship from them or anything. I just think they're a great bookstore, and I've loved everything about that bookstore when I go into it. So yeah, this is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a by Mark Manson, a counterintuitive approach to a good life. I guess if I were going to base this down into a quick boilerplate elevator speech, this is a book that teaches you that you care too much about the things that you care about, and you should care a little less about some things that don't care about you. And then you should probably care a little bit more about certain things based on your honest reflection on your values. For example, we see too many people spending too much time being all like, oh, no. Oh, there's part where he talks about the importance of saying no. Boundaries. He talks about Romeo and Juliet, right? Yeah, it's suspected by many scholars that Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet not to celebrate romance, but rather to satirize it, to show how absolutely nutty it was. Of course he did. Actually, there's quite a few things that you can get from Shakespeare stuff, and you really should read through some of his stuff. But yeah, now he's sitting here talking about romantic love, when he actually really means just limerence. And he talks about boundaries and setting those boundaries. What do poor boundaries look like? Here are some examples. You can't go out with your friends without me. You know how jealous I get. You have to stay home with me, Anastasia Steele. My coworkers are idiots. They always make me late to meetings because I have to tell them how to do their jobs. I've heard that. I can't believe you make me feel so stupid in front of my own sister. Never disagree with me in front of her again. I'd love to take that job in Milwaukee, but my mother would never forgive me for moving so far away. I can date you, but can you not tell my friend Cindy? But she really gets insecure when I have a boyfriend and she doesn't. In every scenario, this person is either taking responsibility for the problems and emotions of others that are not theirs, or demanding that someone else take responsibility for their problems and emotions. Gasp! Yeah, it does talk about it. You know, those types of people are what you call narcissists. They're toxic people. A toxic person will be like, "Oh, you really made me feel bad. That's your problem." But maybe don't care about that. And that's what Mark Manson is talking about here. Other people's one thing I love about customer service, especially over a phone, is that I love customers, I love helping people. But sometimes you get people who just want to make their problems everyone else's. And when a customer walks out the door, their problems go with them. After I've worked in retail, especially bookstores and such. That's one thing I love about customer service, is that I'm here to help you because not only am I paid to do that, I like to do that. I actually care about doing that. But at the end of the day, when I clock out, I don't take that with me. I don't take everyone else's problems with me. Because you have to pick and choose the battles. You have to pick and choose the conquests and crusades. You have to pick and choose what you actually give about. And that's what this book is about. So, it's a really short book, I think. It's like, what, only about, let's see, 210 pages. You can, if you're a reader like me, this is a book that you finish this book in an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then you think, wow, gee, I did that. It actually took longer to get through the audio book than it did to get through the actual book, because I read pretty quickly. That's both a blessing and a curse. But you know what I did after I read through it? After I listened to it on an audiobook, I read through it. And then after I read through it, well, I'm going to read through it again. I think it's a pretty good book. Even if it does have a giant curse word on the cover. And I'm like, oh no, how will I avoid demonetization if I'm talking about a book with the word in it? Oh, that's what the bell is for. Which, by the way, you should ring that bell, that little subscriber bell. Yeah, I know, this is a Viral Speak book review. Yay! It's not going to be anywhere near as long as the last ones I did. So these are getting to be a little bit more scripted. Not really, I don't have a script, I don't have a printer. Anyways, these are getting to be a little bit more about the right length, I guess is the best way to put it. Is this length good for you? Would you like it a little longer? Maybe more talking? Or would you just like some nice stroking of the book? Look at this. Actually, I want to comment about this dust sleeve is a fantastic material. Look, this is slick, and this is like matte. I would love a handheld that had this kind of like feel to it. Just it's such a good feel. It's one of those things where you're like, yeah, this feels good. But yeah, can you hear that? That is some quality hardcoverness. I can't wait till this gets out in paperback and more people can afford it. But for me, you love hardcover stuff and you're like, yes, this is good. This is how it's done. But yeah, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a counterintuitive approach to living a good life by Mark Manson is a bestseller for a reason. Over 1 million copies sold. And you know what? That's good. I suggest you pick it up. It's pretty good. It's a good read. Now, if you're embarrassed by cursing, there is some cursing in this book. He is pretty blunt, but that's okay, because if he wasn't being blunt, he wouldn't be honest. He had to choose whether or not he wanted to be polite or if he wanted to be honest. And he decided he didn't give a about being polite. He'd rather be honest. And you know what? I honestly like that about this book. So, let me know in the comments below. Have you read this? Is this a book you would pick up? Have you thought about reading this? I think you should. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that share button already, because, I really do give a about likes and shares and subscriptions and subscribers. I actually give a about all of you. And I'm glad you watch my videos. I'm glad you're here till the end of this. So go you. Give yourself a hug or a pat on the back and be like, you know what? You did an awesome thing today because you sat through this entire video. And you're awesome like that, okay? And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that share button if you haven't already. And then make sure that you ring that little bell like the one that I've been ringing. And I'm not going to ring it right now because seriously that bell is kind of horribly annoying. But it gets the point across. And until the next video comes out, you are now caught up.